Have you ever noticed how dangerous the word tomorrow is? Tomorrow, I'll start exercising. Tomorrow, I'll start that business. Tomorrow, I'll stop wasting time. Tomorrow, I'll become disciplined. Tomorrow, I'll fix my life. Tomorrow. It sounds harmless. But for many people, tomorrow has become a graveyard of dreams, goals, and potential. And here's the painful truth. For some people, tomorrow never comes. One day becomes 1 week. 1 week becomes 1 month. 1 month becomes 1 year. And before you know it, you look back at your life and realize you've been standing still. Watching. Waiting. Wishing. While life keeps moving. And that hurts. Because deep down, you know what you should be doing. You know. But knowing is not the problem. Starting is. That's the battle. Not knowledge. Action. And today, this message is your wake-up call. Not next Monday. Not next month. Not when conditions are perfect. Now. Because the life you want is waiting on the other side of action. But action has a price. It demands discomfort. It demands courage. It demands movement. And most people avoid movement because movement exposes them. What if I fail? What if people laugh? What if I'm not ready? What if it doesn't work? These questions imprison millions. But let me ask you something. What if it works? What if your life changes because you finally decided to begin? What if your future is waiting for one decision? The decision to start. Right now. Before we go deeper, if you believe in discipline, self-mastery, and building unshakable inner strength, subscribe to the Stoic Path, because here, we don't run from discomfort. We face it. And we grow through it. Now listen carefully. There's a story about a man who wanted to plant a tree. He told himself, I'll plant it next year. Next year came. He delayed. Again. 5 years passed. Then one day he met an old man planting a tree. He laughed and said, why plant it now? It will take years to grow. The old man smiled and said, that's exactly why I must plant it now. Powerful. Because time will pass anyway. Whether you act or not. Whether you build or not. Whether you begin or not. Time does not care. It keeps moving. The question is, will you move with it? Or will you remain stuck in excuses? Excuses are seductive. They sound intelligent. I'm waiting for the right time. I need more money. I need more motivation. I need more knowledge. But often, excuses are fear wearing a mask. Marcus Aurelius once reminded himself that action is part of human nature. Marcus Aurelius. Not endless thinking. Action. Movement. Progress. Imagine a lion in the wild. Does it wait until it feels perfect before hunting? No. It moves. It adapts. It survives. Nature understands something humans often forget. Movement creates momentum. And momentum creates transformation. Waiting creates nothing. There's another story. A young woman dreamed of writing a book. For 10 years, she talked about it. 10 years. She bought notebooks. Watched videos. Read books on writing. Planned chapters. Researched titles. But she never wrote. Why? Because she wanted it perfect. Then one day, her little daughter asked, Mom, where's your book? That question broke her. Because she realized something painful. Her dream existed only in her head. Not in reality. That night, she wrote 1 page. Just 1. Not 10. Not 20. 1. And 1 page became 10, 10 became 50. 50 became a book. That's how it works. Not through giant leaps. Through small beginnings. People overestimate the power of motivation and underestimate the power of consistency. Motivation is temporary. Discipline stays. Excitement fades. Systems remain. And starting small destroys excuses. Can't work out for an hour. Do 10 minutes. Can't read 50 pages. Read 5. Can't save a lot. Save little. Can't build everything today. Build something today. Because something is always greater than nothing. Always. But many people are addicted to preparation. Preparation feels productive. But preparation without execution is procrastination. You can prepare forever. And still remain stuck. There comes a point where preparation becomes fear. A hidden fear. A respectable fear. A socially accepted fear. But fear nonetheless. Seneca spoke often about how we suffer more in imagination than reality. Seneca the Younger. Think about that. Most of your fears are mental movies. Not reality. Reality is often less terrifying than imagination. The gym isn't as scary as you think. Starting the business isn't as impossible as you think. Recording your first video isn't as embarrassing as you think. Making that move isn't as dangerous as you think. Your mind exaggerates difficulty. That's what it does. And if you obey it every time, you will remain frozen. A man once stood at the edge of a cold river. He wanted to cross. But he kept touching the water. It's too cold. He waited. Hours passed. Still cold. Then another traveler came and walked straight through. The man asked, "How did you do it?" The traveler replied, "I stopped negotiating with discomfort." That's it. That's the secret. Stop negotiating. Stop debating. Stop delaying. Move. You don't become brave before action. You become brave through action. Confidence is built in motion. Not thought. Not theory. Motion. And maybe this message finds you at the right time. Maybe you've been delaying your purpose. Maybe you've been postponing your healing. Maybe you've been making excuses because excuses protect you from responsibility. Because once you start, it becomes real. And real things can fail. But real things can also succeed. And success only belongs to those willing to begin. There's pain in starting. But there's greater pain in regret. Regret is heavy. It follows you. It whispers at night. It reminds you of what could have been. And the worst kind of regret is not failure. It's never trying. Imagine yourself 10 years from now. Same habits. Same excuses. Same delays. Same fears. How does that feel? Heavy, right? Now imagine 10 years from now after consistent action. Growth. Transformation. Strength. Peace. Which version of yourself deserves to exist? The answer depends on what you do today. Not tomorrow. Today. Because your future is built in the invisible choices nobody sees. Waking up early. Doing the work. Staying disciplined. Choosing growth. That's where lives are changed. Not in dramatic moments. But in ordinary decisions. And here's what nobody tells you. Starting badly is better than never starting. Your first attempt will probably be messy. Your first video may be awkward. Your first workout may be weak. Your first chapter may be terrible. Good. That's normal. That's part of the path. Perfectionism is often self-sabotage. It sounds noble. But it delays progress. Progress loves imperfection. Because imperfection means movement. And movement means life. The Stoics understood this deeply. They knew life was uncertain. They knew time was limited. And because time was limited, action mattered. Not intention. Action. Because intention without action changes nothing. Zero. And if you're still listening, understand this. The world does not reward potential. It rewards execution. Potential means nothing without action. Nothing. A seed has potential. But if buried and ignored, it dies. Potential must be activated. By action. By courage. By starting. Today. Not later. Now. And ask yourself honestly. What have you been postponing? That business? That healing? That discipline? That dream? That apology? That transformation? Whatever it is. Start now. Messy. Imperfect. Uncomfortable. Start. Because life respects movement. And so does destiny. No more excuses, start now. Let's be honest. Excuses are comfortable. They feel safe. They protect your ego. Because as long as you keep saying, I'll start later, you never have to face the truth of your current ability. You never have to confront failure. You never have to test yourself. And that's why procrastination feels good in the moment. It gives temporary relief. But long-term pain. Think about it. Every time you delay what matters, you borrow peace from your future. And your future always collects. With interest. That unfinished dream. That ignored goal. That avoided responsibility. It stays in your mind. Quietly draining you. That's the hidden cost of delay. Not just lost time. Lost energy. Because incomplete things consume mental space. They follow you. While eating. While sleeping. While scrolling. They remain there. Waiting. Demanding. And deep down, you know it. There's a story of a man who kept saying he wanted to get fit. Every new year, same promise. This year is my year. January came. Excitement. New shoes. New clothes. New plans. But by February? Gone. Back to old habits. One day, his son asked him. Dad, why do you always quit? That question hit hard. Not because it was cruel. But because it was true. And truth can sting. That night, he sat alone and realized something. He wasn't failing because he lacked knowledge. He was failing because he lacked consistency. And consistency is born from identity. Not motivation. Identity. When you say, I'm trying to work out, your mind hears uncertainty. But when you say, I am someone who trains, everything changes. Identity drives behavior. Epictetus taught that we become what we repeatedly practice. Not what we wish. Not what we admire. What we practice. That means if you practice excuses, you become an excuse maker. If you practice discipline, you become disciplined. Simple. But not easy. And here's the truth many avoid. Your habits are shaping your destiny. Right now. At this very moment. Not tomorrow. Today. The small choices. The tiny actions. The invisible decisions. They matter. A lot. Because life compounds. Like interest. One choice seems small. But repeated daily. It becomes your character. A man who reads 10 pages a day will be transformed in a year. A person who exercises 20 minutes daily will look different in months. A creator who posts consistently will improve. But people underestimate compound growth because it's invisible at first. Like planting seeds. Nothing appears immediately. And that's where many quit. Too early. Too soon. They mistake silence for failure. But silence is often growth happening underground. There's a story about bamboo. For years after planting, it seems like nothing happens. No visible growth. Nothing impressive. Then suddenly, it shoots up rapidly. But the truth? It was growing beneath the surface all along. Roots. Foundation. Strength. Your progress works the same way. Just because others can't see it doesn't mean it isn't happening. Keep going. Keep building. Keep showing up. And understand. Action kills anxiety. Not overthinking. Not scrolling. Not complaining. Action. A young man once wanted to start a business. But he kept waiting. More money. More time. More certainty. Then one day he watched his friend begin with almost nothing. No perfect plan. No perfect timing. Just courage. Years later, the friend succeeded. Not because he was smarter. Because he started. That hurt. Because it exposed the truth. The opportunity was never missing. The courage was. And maybe that's your situation. Maybe you're waiting for certainty. But certainty is a myth. Life guarantees nothing. Not success. Not comfort. Not tomorrow. Seneca the Younger warned about acting as if we own endless time. But we don't. Time is borrowed. That should wake you up. Because every delayed action is a gamble with time. And time is undefeated. It keeps moving. With or without your permission. Imagine if you treated your goals like survival. Would you delay? If your house was on fire, would you say, "I'll handle it next week"? No. Urgency changes behavior. The problem is many people don't create urgency until pain forces it. Until debt grows. Until health fails. Until relationships break. Until opportunities disappear. Why wait for pain to teach what discipline can teach now? That's wisdom. Learning before suffering becomes your teacher. There's another story. A sculptor stared at a giant block of stone. People laughed. "What do you see?" He replied. "A masterpiece trapped inside." Day by day, he chipped away. Small pieces. Tiny progress. Until eventually, art emerged. That's your life. You don't transform overnight. You sculpt yourself daily. Habit by habit. Decision by decision. Excuse by excuse removed. And here's something important. Your environment matters. If you stay surrounded by distraction, your focus weakens. If you stay surrounded by negativity, your energy drops. If you stay surrounded by laziness, discipline becomes harder. Environment influences action. Protect your space. Protect your mind. Protect your focus. Marcus Aurelius practiced guarding his mind because he knew thoughts shape actions. And actions shape destiny. Ask yourself. What environment am I creating? Does it support growth? Or delay it? Sometimes starting now means changing your surroundings. Turning off distractions. Leaving toxic circles. Building routines. Creating structure. Because discipline thrives in structure. And freedom comes from discipline. Not the other way around. People think discipline is prison. Wrong. Discipline is liberation. It frees you from chaos. From weakness. From emotional instability. From inconsistency. Imagine waking up and trusting yourself. Trusting your word. Trusting your habits. Trusting your ability to execute. That's power. Real power. Not influence. Not money. Self-mastery. And self-mastery begins with one thing. Doing what you said you would do. Even when you don't feel like it. Especially then. Because feelings are unreliable. Action must be principle-driven. Not emotion-driven. If you only act when inspired, you will remain average. Because inspiration is unpredictable. But discipline is chosen. A writer writes when tired. An athlete trains when uncomfortable. A builder builds when unmotivated. That's why they grow. While others wait. Waiting has ruined many lives. Waiting for motivation. Waiting for approval. Waiting for perfect conditions. But perfect conditions don't exist. Start in chaos. Start in fear. Start in uncertainty. Just start. Because the road reveals itself while walking. Not before. And if this message is reaching you right now, maybe that's not random. Maybe this is the push you needed. The permission you were unconsciously waiting for. Here it is. Begin. Today. Not because it's easy. But because your future deserves your courage. And if you've made it this far, subscribe to the Stoic Path. Because this journey is about becoming stronger than your excuses, sharper than your fears, and disciplined enough to build the life you deserve. Starting is powerful. But staying consistent. That's where lives change. Because anybody can start on a good day. Anybody can feel inspired after watching a motivational video. Anybody can promise change when emotions are high. But what happens on the hard days? The silent days. The boring days. The painful days. That's the real test. That's where character is revealed. Because success is not built in excitement. It's built in repetition. And repetition is not glamorous. It's ordinary. Wake up. Do the work. Rest. Repeat. Again. And again. And again. That's how mountains are moved. Not in one giant push. But through relentless pressure. There's a story of a stonecutter. He hits a rock 100 times. Nothing. No crack. No visible change. Then on the 101st strike. The rock breaks. Was it the last hit that broke it? No. It was every hit before it. That's how progress works. Invisible. Accumulated. Stored. Until one day. Breakthrough. But many quit on strike number 20. Or 30. Or 50. Because they mistake lack of visible results for failure. And that's dangerous. Because some of your biggest breakthroughs are hiding behind your hardest days. A young man once started waking up at 5 a.m. The first week felt powerful. Fresh. New. Exciting. By week 3. It felt miserable. Cold mornings. Heavy eyes. No motivation. He wanted to quit. And one morning, he asked himself, does this even matter? That question matters. Because every disciplined person asks it. But then he looked at his older self in his mind. Tired. Regretful. Undisciplined. And he realized. The pain of discipline was lighter than the pain of regret. So he kept going. Months later. His body changed. His focus changed. His confidence changed. Not because of one day. Because of many days. Consistency compounds. That's why Epictetus emphasized endurance. Not intensity. Endurance. Intensity can start the journey. Endurance finishes it. And here's something important. You will fail sometimes. Yes. You will miss days. You will lose rhythm. You will feel weak. That does not mean stop. A missed day is not failure. Quitting is. Many people destroy progress because they turn one mistake into surrender. They eat one bad meal and abandon the diet. Miss one workout and stop training. Skip one day of work and lose momentum. Why? Because they think perfection is required. It isn't. Consistency does not mean perfection. It means returning. Returning after mistakes. Returning after weakness. Returning after setbacks. That's strength. There's a story of a child learning to walk. Imagine if babies quit after falling. Nobody would walk. But falling is part of learning. So is failing. So is struggling. Growth requires friction. Without resistance, there's no strength. A sword is forged in fire. Not comfort. And you are no different. Your struggles are shaping you. If you let them. Marcus Aurelius believed obstacles could become the path itself. Think about that. The obstacle isn't blocking your path. It is the path. The hard workout. The rejection. The discipline. The boredom. The sacrifice. That is the path. Stop expecting an easy road. It doesn't exist. But hard roads create strong people. And strong people build extraordinary lives. Here's another truth. Momentum is fragile. Protect it. A train is hardest to move at the beginning. Heavy. Slow. Resistant. But once moving, it becomes powerful. Your habits work the same way. The first days are hardest. The first weeks feel unnatural. But if you keep moving, momentum carries you. That's why starting small matters. Don't overwhelm yourself. A man wanted to read 50 books in a year. Big goal. But instead of focusing on 50 books, he focused on 10 pages a day. Small. Manageable. Simple. 1 year later, he finished far more than expected. Because small actions remove resistance. And resistance is where excuses live. Make your habits easy to begin. Want to exercise? Start with 5 minutes. Want to write? Write 1 paragraph. Want to meditate? Sit for 2 minutes. The goal is not greatness at first. The goal is consistency. Greatness follows. And be careful who you compare yourself to. Comparison kills progress. Someone is ahead of you. Fine. That's their journey. Focus on yours. A tree and a flower do not compete. They grow at their pace. Your pace is your pace. Honor it. Protect it. Improve it. But don't poison it with comparison. Seneca the Younger warned against measuring life by others. Because when you compare, you lose sight of your own growth. And growth is personal. Private. Unique. Look at yourself 6 months ago. Are you stronger? Wiser? More disciplined? That's the comparison that matters. You versus you. Yesterday versus today. And here's a secret many successful people understand. Boring wins. Yes. Boring. The boring repetition. The boring consistency. The boring discipline. That's where results are born. Not in dramatic moments. In ordinary repetition. People want dramatic transformation. But real transformation is often quiet. Invisible. Simple. Daily. A man once asked a gardener, "How do you grow such beautiful plants?" The gardener smiled and said, "I water them every day. Not sometimes. Every day. That's it. That's the secret. Show up daily. Water your goals daily. Feed your discipline daily. Protect your mind daily. Strengthen your habits daily. And one day, people will call you lucky. But you will know the truth. It wasn't luck. It was repetition. And there will be days when nobody supports you. Days when nobody claps. Days when nobody notices. Keep going. Because the seed underground does not need applause to grow. It just needs time. And effort. And patience. Trust your process. Not every season looks productive. Winter looks dead. But beneath the ground, life is preparing. Your silent seasons matter. Don't abandon them. And remember this. Your excuses are watching. Waiting for weakness. Waiting for emotional moments. Waiting for discomfort. Don't feed them. Starve them. Every time you act despite resistance, you weaken excuses. And strengthen discipline. That's how identity changes. Action by action. Choice by choice. Day by day. And if you're listening right now, hear this carefully. The person you want to become is built in the moments you want to quit. Not the easy moments. The hard ones. That's where transformation happens. That's where strength is born. That's where discipline proves itself. So when it gets hard, good. That means you're in the right place. Keep moving. Keep building. Keep showing up. Subscribe to the Stoic Path if you're committed to becoming disciplined, resilient, and mentally unshakable. Because this path is not easy. But it's worth it.